In this video, I will show you how to use a piece of tracing paper to transfer a sketch onto a nicer sheet of paper. So what I have here is a sketch on just some scrap piece of paper. This is a 9x12 watercolor paper from this pad right here. And this here is a piece of tracing paper that I already pre-cut. Tracing paper can come in a roll just like this. This is a bit excessive, but it's nice because you get a lot of tracing paper in like just one roll. Only downside is that you do have to cut it down to size. Then they can also come in pads just like this. This is from Strathmore, 50 sheets, 14 by 17. They can come in different sizes, so they do come in sheets of, pads of 9x12. I just happen to only have this one on hand right now, which is where I cut this piece from. You'll also be needing a soft lead, so I have a 6B pencil. It's kind of hard to see because it's okay. There it goes. A 6B pencil, a ballpoint pen. I just have a couple of here. While not necessary, but helpful, I also have some blue tape. Then I just also have my HB pencil here. Alright, so to start things off, I'm going to put my nice watercolor paper aside for now. And now I have my sketch and my piece of tracing paper. You can see it's a piece of transparent, sort of like, I guess like wax paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that on top, and if you have blue tape, I'm going to go ahead, stick some side, and then off camera I just sort of place the blue tape on my pants so that it's not as tacky, just to make sure it doesn't tear the paper later when I go to transfer it or take it off. So what I'm going to do is I have my piece of tracing paper on top of my sketch, and then I'm just going to very simply just trace my sketch underneath. And then I'm going to focus on the big main important shapes. So it's just a bunch of plants, so I have all these like round and triangular shapes in here. And I have a little piece under this blue tape that I can just trace later. And tracing, this method for tracing sketches is useful if you know, you want to perfect a sketch on a piece of paper that's not as I guess like valuable, because watercolor paper is expensive, and it's also a bit temperamental in that you want to avoid as much erasing and like handling of your watercolor paper as you can, because you know, our fingertips have oils, and the more contact we make with the paper, since it is watercolor paper, the oil from our fingers would make the water from the watercolor paint sort of repel. It won't exactly adhere to the paper. So it is a good method if you want to keep your sheet of watercolor paper clean, but then also have a very thorough and detailed sketch. Or it doesn't even have to be too thorough of a sketch. There's always room to change, I suppose. So like for example, I think at the top edge here is a bit too close to the top. I still have some room on the bottom, so maybe on the cleaner sheet of paper I'll move. Oh wait, sorry, you cannot see that on the camera. So as I was saying, this top edge here is a bit too close to the top, but since I still have room down here, I can just move this piece of tracing paper closer to the bottom. I'll explain again when I get to it, but for now, I'm just simply tracing my sketch underneath. I also have some lines, I don't know if you can tell, that I drew. So like underneath here I had like the upper lid of this plant pot, but then I erased it, but you can still sort of see it. So again, I can just ignore that when I trace over it, just so that it's more neat. So that's step one. I finish tracing all my lines onto my piece of tracing paper. Just make that a little darker. Now to step two, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the blue tape. And now, see, it's gonna be a bit hard to see it because of the black surface. But now I'm going to turn this around. Actually, I forgot to finish this part. I'm just gonna bring this back real quick. Okay, there you go. Okay, now the sketch is done. But or the tracing is done. So now I'm just gonna flip this over, and then it's gonna be hard to see. So I'm gonna take my binder. There you go, much better. Now I'm gonna take my 6B pencil, and then as you can see, it's really exposed on this side. What I did was use an X-Acto knife to sort of shave off the side. But this part isn't totally necessary for what I'm going to do. Because some people, there's different methods for tracing. Some people would take the 6B pencil and sort of get as much graphite as they can onto the piece of tracing paper like this. Others, like what I'm about to show, I'm about to just redraw my lines again, but this time with this 6B pencil. So I'm gonna make sure I get as much graphite as I can, because this is what's going to transfer onto my watercolor paper. So I believe I got everything that I traced. And okay, you can actually see here the image sort of traced from the HB lead on my binder. But anyway, the next step is to flip this again. And I'm gonna take my piece of watercolor paper. And like I said earlier, I was gonna move it down because I can. Gonna move it a bit down. Right there looks good, just so that I have an even equal space from the top and the bottom. I just feel like it looks nicer that way. It doesn't feel like nothing's too cramped. And I'm gonna take my blue tape once again, tape it like so. And I'm gonna take a ballpoint pen, and this is where I get to begin the tracing part. And I think I'm actually gonna attach another piece of tape on the bottom just so that it doesn't, because I don't want it to move as much. I want to prevent it from moving as much as I can as I trace this. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and begin for a third time, just going over my drawing. And I can actually check a little underneath, and I can see that the graphite from the 6B pencil on the back side of the tracing paper is beginning to transfer onto my piece of watercolor paper. So I'm just gonna sort of go over real quick, and after I'm done with this, I may have to fix some parts. Like not every, it's possible that not everything could have transferred, whether maybe I didn't put enough graphite, or what else could be the reason. That's the only one I can think of. Just not enough graphite, or maybe I didn't press on the pen hard enough. That could be a possibility, but I don't want to press too hard because I'm afraid of tearing the tracing paper. So ballpoint pen, so it's relatively flat. I'm not using anything too sharp. And as I go along, I can continuously check, and so far it looks good. Check again. Yeah, just coming along pretty well. it looks about it. I traced every single part of my drawing. So now for the big reveal, I'm gonna take off this bottom piece of tape here. Yeah, see? So not everything got transferred, but I'm okay with that because I got most of it. A lot of the pieces that weren't transferred I can fill in pretty easily, like a couple of parts here, parts of the leaves, and a little of this back face too. But overall I got the main shapes done, and yeah, that's how I use tracing paper in order to transfer over a sketch. And I can also just clean up parts of my drawing right now if I so want to. One thing I am noticing is that I might have been pressing too hard, because there are now little divots on my paper. Shouldn't be too much of a problem in the end. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish by cleaning up my tracing so that everything looks a little more clearer. Again, since this is watercolor paper, I should avoid handling the paper as much as I can, or erasing. And I don't really need too dark of a graphite line for watercolor painting. Okay. And let's see. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's see. Bring it up. And there we have it. So from start to finish, that's how to use a piece of tracing paper in order to transfer a sketch from a piece of scrap paper or sketchbook paper onto a nicer sheet of paper such as watercolor paper.